Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I am Tanika, and today we're going to be discussing episode 11 of Love is Blind. So let's just jump right in. It's going to be a bit of a longer episode, so let's get into it. So, season 7, episode 11, The Risk of Falling in Love. So Hannah and Nick are back at the apartment. And she's like, so what was that conversation with Katie? And he says, we just talked about what happened in the pause. That's basically it. And she's like what? And, I guess he says, like, I just, like, he doesn't owe her the conversation he had with Katie, because he doesn't owe her the relationship that he formed with Katie in the pause. But trust that he didn't overstep. He respected the relationship that he's currently in. He told you what he is required to tell you. If something happened, he would have told you that. Nothing happened. But Hannah is kind of like, that's like my best friend in the world. And like, you're my fiance. And, you said you were intrigued to talk to her. And she's like, you talked for like a long time. Like it took you like 40 minutes. So like, what did you guys talk about? And then she goes on to say, I taught you everything you know. Bitch. I taught you everything you know. What the hell? Do you want a medal? Do you want an award? Do you want a plaque? You're doing the bare minimum. Really and truly, you're doing the bare minimum of what someone would hope and expect from their fiance. And not that this throw it back at your face if I taught you everything you know. In a month? It's been a month. Bitch. Anyway, she's like, I turned you into a man from a boy. Like, it's just degrading. She's very degrading. And she's like, I was going to show you my fun side because, like, the girls were saying that I need to show you my fun side because I'm showing you my serious side. Like, I was going to do that. And then that, like, what? No, y'all, she was never going to show him shit because she isn't capable of showing anyone that she's fun. I don't think she's fun. I don't think she's fun at all. What the hell? you know? But then, like, my best friend is telling me that you're so hot. Like, what does that have? And he says to her, what does that have to do with me? What did I do? What does her saying that she finds me good looking or whatever have to do with me? And finally, he's stepping up and saying something back to her because she deserves it. And it gets gross quick, y'all. It really does. But he says to her, you're not secure in this and you don't trust me. And that is why you act the way you do. Finally, thank God. Seriously. And he says, like, do you trust me or not? And she's like, it's not about like trust or whatever, but like, he's like, no, answer the question. She doesn't, it's not about whether or not she trusts him. It's about the fact she doesn't trust herself, with the extension of she doesn't trust him because she doesn't trust herself. But he's like, which I didn't really enjoy if it was anybody else. Because it's her, I don't care. It's not good to laugh at somebody when they're arguing with you. Like, it's actually really, stop it, it's gross. But he's laughing at her in this moment, and I'm like, I feel nothing. Like, but he's laughing, and he's like, because he thinks this is absurd. And he's like, if I can't talk to one of your best friends that you claim is your best friend, then you don't trust me. Because what is he going to do? What's he going to do with your best friend? You know what I mean? Like, what's he really going to do? And why would your friend allow that to even happen anyways? So he's like, if you can't handle that, you don't trust me. And he's like, who gives a fuck that I talked to her for 40 minutes? Like, so? And it's true. Um, and he also says, "Who gives a fuck what anyone thinks?" And I think that is also a good point. And she says again, "I was gonna show you my fun side. You don't have one." Anyway, um, and I think I wrote down whose fault is that, but anyways. And then while they're having this argument, this is why I mean it gets gross and weird because she's like, I think she realized, and this is a narcissistic trait. She knows that she's not going to win the argument or it's going to be flipped back onto her. So she has to deflect it back onto something in just not important or inanimate or whatever. She has to resort back to something that is safe, that she can change this conversation. So she says to him, "My feet are psychotic." What the fuck? What is I feel like I'm going insane. I don't know how he can feel in this moment. I feel like I'm going insane. And he's he's like, "If I tell you I love you, roll with it. You have me. So roll with it." But she can't do that. But she then says, and this is why it gets gross because again, I'm not going to win this fight, so I have to resort to something else. So let me resort to sex. And she says, "You're so hot right now." Oh, yeah. Like, so makeup sex. And there's nothing wrong with makeup sex. I have no problem with makeup sex. It's fine. But you're going to this isn't about let's fight about this later. Let's just release some tension, but we will talk about this later. She doesn't want to talk about this later. She's literally like, "I'm not going to win this because he's throwing out facts. So I need to change course." This is what this is. Um, because she says after she says, like, "You're so hot right now." And she says, "Let's go to bed." Because she wants to fuck. Because she wants to take his mind off of this and put it somewhere else. And then this will never be discussed again, and she'll have a level up again. It's gross. It's absolutely disgusting. And if a man did this, we wouldn't hear the end of it. It's disgusting. But anyways, and he says, "I guess I can't be myself." Like, no, he can't be himself. And would you want to be in a relationship like this where you cannot be yourself? Um, but he's like talking to her from the kitchen and she's in the bedroom. And um, he's talking to her saying what he's saying, and I didn't write it all down because I do think he's drunk as well, so there's a lot of rambling, and she's just ignoring him, and she says, "It's 1:30 in the morning, let's go to bed," and I think he says, like, "Could I have done something better, something different?" And she says, "No," and I think she truly believes that, but she still has to sabotage, and I don't think she sabotages because she's trying to protect herself, she sabotages because she's a horrible person. So, and it is what it is. Um, she says, "You did nothing wrong. Let's talk about this in the morning." They probably will not. Then she says, "Let's go to bed." So that's basically that. That's that conversation. We're in San Diego with Garrett and Taylor. They did not sleep much the night before with the arguments that they were having. He feels very sorry for what happened, and I think he should feel sorry for it. That was horrible of you, Garrett. Just be 100% with her. If you responded back to her, then say you responded back to her. She'd rather just have all the information and then she can deal with it as such, you know? Um, but he meets the family and he says that they are all lovely. We don't actually see them in this moment, but we will meet her father later. So it was nice to see him. And we will be her mom prior to that though. But yeah, she says they were all great and it went well. So yeah. Um, Back in DC with Tyler and Ashley, they are going go-karting and he says, "I'm sorry again for everything that he was saying, and she says that, the shock has worn off for her, um, and she wants him in her life no matter what. Um, she says, "Not what I thought this was gonna be, but, you know, she's with it, so they're gonna get married. That's what they say they're gonna do, so yay." Ramses and Marissa are talking about, raw eggs and whether or not it's okay to eat raw eggs, but I think she was eating the batter. He's like, "But that's raw egg." Should you be doing that? Um, then we talk, marriage licenses because they ended up filling up the marriage license, which you, I guess, can do online now. I mean, back when I don't even know if you can do marriage license online here in Canada, but I know back in the day when I did mine, it was 10 years ago almost, um, yeah, you couldn't do it online. But anyway, um, yeah, so they're filling it out, and I guess he's kind of struggling with what her birthday is. She's like, "Do you even know my birthday? Um, do you?" And then there's something else too that was said, but I can't remember what it was. But she's like, "Do you even know my full name?" But anyways, it was fine. They were fine. Hannah and Nick are meeting up with her friends, and this is where the shit hits the fan. And she says, "We're good now, but um, you did fail that test." What test? He can't fail a test that he doesn't even know he's being tested on. Like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, um, and then her friends, are basically they're here, and one of her friends was also called Hannah, so that got to be confusing in the friend group. But he talks football, real estate, and kind of saying, relationships wasn't really his first priority with all of that, and he says he wasn't kind of at the right place in life, that he was ready to kind of focus on relationships. He says, "I do want to marry you, but," or I think she says, "I do want to marry you, but I have reservations." You don't say. Whether her reservations are legitimate is another thing, but anyways, um, uh, or he said, I don't know if he said it or, but someone said it, whatever. But he said, "We have times where we have these innocent conversations and you come in hard." So it was him that said it. So yeah, that's exactly it. Like, they could have a conversation about something, but then she takes it to a whole other degree. And, you know, they would talk about the duck situation. And again, did you notice that when he is around, she's kind of more honest about kind of what happened versus when he isn't around, she just inflates the whole situation. But she talks about kind of what happened from her perspective. And he says, "Listen, I feel like I have to change myself for this relationship, which you should never have to do." And he's like, "I'm not as like immature as you want to think I am." And whether that's true or not, I don't know. But um, she says, "You have to think about others." And I think he or she or someone said, I can't remember. I can just start writing back who says what. But I think it was her that said, that's not what you said last night. It shouldn't be hard. But of course her friends, because I feel like they were already fed information about what happened with all of this. So they're coming in with this preconceived notion of what is going on, but they're not hearing it from his perspective. Your friend sucks. She sucks as a person in a relationship, and you're not getting the full picture. And they say to him, um, you know, "It shouldn't have to be a big deal. You have to do this or do that. And why can't you do this or do that?" Like, it's all about that. And it's like they're saying things that haven't even been brought up, but clearly she's brought up to them. So it's just not great. But um she says, like, "I'm not asking you to change, but respect me." But how is he showing you that he doesn't respect you is the honest question here. But um he says, "But you're asking me to change in order for you to believe that I respect you." And but I mean, that's basically it. Clearly, like, this conversation did not go well. And it's pretty obvious that her friends came out of this not particularly liking him or liking what they see, so but we'll get a little more on that. Then we got Fong, Taylor's mom, and first of all, just off the bat, I think she's absolutely lovely. I think we created this thing in our minds of she's like, you know, a person who has high expectations of who dates her daughter, and I'm sure she does, but she was very lovely. I thought she was very nice. But she is in DC, so they're back in DC and she's there, so that's where we're meeting her. And she kind of says like, we are part of the family. Taylor believes she's met her person because you have, girl. Yes, you have. And yeah, that's basically that. Like it went well. Hannah is with her mom, and today is supposed to be dress shopping, but she's not there. And she kind of says to her mom, Nick doesn't match who she is. She's not quite with it. She also says my friends didn't like him. So that's another thing. And again, if we saw how things happened in the pods, when people kept telling her, Nick is no good, Nick is suave, he's probably an F boy, he's not the one for you, just stick with Leo, or whatever else was being said. She took that and she ran with it without coming up to that realization on her own of what she wants from him or seeing him for who he is without the outside influence. That's exactly what she does here in this moment. She takes what her friends have said and she just runs with it. You have to have a mind of your own. And I think her mom tries to tell her that by saying, listen, your friends may not like him. And that's okay, but that can't be the determination of why you don't go through with this, because maybe they just don't understand him the way that you want. But the problem is that Hannah talks too damn much, and her friends already have this preconceived notion of who he is, and they went into not liking him based on what Hannah was telling them. So there was no way that her friends were going to come out of this liking him anyways. Um, but whatever her mom was going to say here to try and tell her, you need to be the reason you don't marry this man, not everyone else. It doesn't matter because I don't think it's going to change who she is. She is going to let others form her opinions for her, whether she has them or not. Um, and she's not going to go through with this. So she feels like, she's constantly teaching him how to do different things or how to love her. And does she really want to be doing that for the rest of her life? Well, we're going to go through dress shopping. And of course, I kind of speed through this anyways, usually, because I just want to see how they look in their dress and I move on to the next. We didn't actually get to see the guys in their tux prior to the wedding, but we will see who goes through with their weddings. We'll see them there. But yes, it's time to do that. Dress and suit picking. So let's kind of just go through this. So Hannah is not there yet, and they believe that she is purposely not there yet, but we'll get to that. So Ashley goes first with picking her dresses. Her first dress was pretty, but I'm also not sure about it. I'm not sure if I liked it on her. I liked the dress for what it was, but I didn't particularly like it on her. The second dress is not much better, to be totally honest with you. I didn't particularly like it on her. I don't even think I like the dress in general. Um, but that's the one she picks, y'all. So it is what it is. Marissa is next, and her first dress is no good. I did not like that dress on her. I don't even think I liked that dress either. But then she goes with her second dress, which is a lot better, kind of more her, and that's the one she picks. Sorry, no, I went back upwards instead of going back to the next one. Dress number 2, I think I said is nice, but I don't like it on her. That's what I said. Sorry, I went back up to Ashley, but yeah, I said I didn't like it on her. But the booty is popping, so that's great. So that's the dress she picks. Now Taylor, on the other hand, dress number 1, didn't like it, didn't suit her, didn't nope. And it has pockets apparently, but I'm sorry, I don't believe a wedding dress should have pockets. I just don't. Why you need those pockets for? What are you putting in the pockets of your wedding dress? Like, no, no pockets on a wedding dress. That's that's what I feel. I'm sticking to it. Mom doesn't like the dress either, so it's an absolute no for that. Um, sorry, no, she says it's pretty, but it's not for her. She doesn't think it suits her. But then dress number 2, it's gorgeous, it's simple, it's gorgeous on her, it suits her. I think it really does suit her. That's the one she picks. The part that's frustrating about this dress, though, is, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that dress long? Because when we see her at the wedding, it's it's shorter. And I will leave my thoughts and feelings to that in a minute, but I was confused. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't remember seeing the dress short. But anyway, we'll talk about that when the time comes, because let's go back over to Hannah and Nick. So, um, they're having a conversation now. And she says, like, am I pushing you too much? Yes. The answer is yes. And they kind of talk about the issues they have. And he says the last 2, I think, days have been difficult for him. Um, and she says, you don't have any, oh, sorry, better yet, we talk about the list and some of the things that were said on that list that got thrown out that I think is a travesty. But the no respect, you are delusional, your ego needs to be stroked in order to be happy. I don't see any of that. I mean, maybe there's things we're just not seeing, but I don't think he has lack of respect for her. I don't think he is delusional. Maybe he does have an ego that needs to be stroked, but I also don't know if I see that. I don't know. It's just, I think it's hard for me to be like, oh, maybe maybe that could be something, when I think she's absolutely unreasonable. Then they kind of talk about the Katie situation. That's another thing that was an issue for her, obviously. Um, and she said, these are examples of how they know you've lost my trust. Um, and he says, well, you're degrading. And I think he kind of says, like, I managed without you. That's the thing. He managed to survive prior to you, and with mom and dad's help, but he's been doing it. And she says, what do you have to be responsible for? Like, he's like, my bills. Like, what bills? First of all, ma'am, he doesn't owe you that explanation. And it's like, you shouldn't have to. Seriously, for me, if a person kept challenging me like this, I'm like, what does this have to do with the conversation? Don't patronize me. It would be done. Don't. I'd be like, if you're going to do that, this conversation's over. You can never. Not with me. But he goes through it nonetheless. He says, I work. I have my cat. Well, who feeds your cat? Okay, well, my dad feeds her in the morning. Like, whatever. Like, if his parents are fine with the arrangement, who are you to say shit? Just because you chose to live alone since you were 18 years old, that is your decision. That's not someone else's thing to have to deal with. Go fuck off with your bullshit. Like that, I can't with her. And like, who died and made you judge, jury, and executor? Like, who? So, um, but yeah, he says that he has this cat. Um, he says, I do most of the stuff for her. Um, he said, I try to be the best that I can. and you think that, you not good enough or whatever. And she kind of accuses him, which I can believe is true, just based on the fact that he's like, oh, well, let's all talk about sex because I have a reputation to uphold. And that's more about clearly you care about how you'll look. But she says you care more about how you will look in a situation because this is going to be like a grill session. So you don't want, like, I think he cares more about how he looks about that. And I think that could be true. Um, and she says, like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Well, yeah, you just met a month ago. And again, you can't accuse someone that I don't know who you are when you don't know them. You're still learning about them. People change. Like they always put their best, everyone puts their best foot forward in any situation. So then, you gotta wait for the not so great stuff to set in. And she's like, I I think she said I need someone to be real, um, and honest because I think she says, like, "I'm so real and I'm so honest," which sure, sure, sure. Um, and she says that this is not gonna work. Um, and we're not gonna get married, which I thought was probably one of the smartest decisions that's been made in this whole season. Um, and he said, like, "I thought I was good enough for you." And, I really do believe he was trying. I think he was doomed if he did and doomed if he didn't. And he says, like, I thought you were gonna be ready to get married. Um, and she's like, what do you think? I'm not ready? He's like, you're not ready to be married to me. And I don't know if that's like a dig at her or what, but I mean, he's not a horrible person. That's the thing. Like, I can understand if you don't want to get married to a Steven or get married to a Leo or get married to an Tim. I can understand that, but he is not a bad guy. So it's anyway. And he says, I didn't come this far just to come this far. And he says that's a Kim K. I don't know if it's a Kim K thing, but I know it as a Mike situation thing that I didn't come this far just to come this far. And I was like, all right. I mean, maybe he's too young for that. I don't know. But it's like I don't know. Anyway. But yeah, he says that. And she says, I think that I'm just like alone trying with this, but whatever. If you feel that way, then that's your problem, I guess. But she still says that I love you. He says that he loves her, and then they hug it out and whatever. And that's basically that. I don't even need to look at whether or not I got this right because y'all, I said that from day one. I did not think this was gonna happen. So let's continue on to the next to the next part now. So we're with Ramses and Marissa. And I don't think his family are going to be at the wedding. And she kind of says to him, like, I don't want our marriage to end in divorce. Like, she wants to be kind of married one time. And that's that. She's like, I'd even be willing to stick around in a marriage for 5 to 7 years of unhappiness. And he's like, what? And I don't think you should stick around in 5 to 7 years of unhappiness. But I think he also took that very literal that she would be like just sticking it out, not saying anything to him. I think she would communicate that there's unhappiness, but um yeah, she said she'd be willing to do that. And he's like, wait, what the hell? But um they're kind of talking about the fact that they want to do gifts for each other's moms. And she says, like, I want you to give like a gift to my mom, maybe flowers. But I was very confused by this, but I think he's like, he didn't know before or something. Like there's kind of a back and forth about whether or not we're actually going to do these gifts for the moms. She kind of goes like, no, we're not going to do it, or yes, we're going to do it. So he's very confused about how things are going to be going down. Um, and I mean, yeah, I can understand him kinda saying, "Can we have some consistency here of what we're gonna be doing?" But, it's she's trying to figure it out. Um, and he says that he's just a little bit uncertain about doing the second wedding, um, and or helping with it, I guess, even. I think that's kind of what happened. Like, I think she kind of has expectation that he was gonna help out a little more, and I think we actually saw that in the episodes prior that he said he was gonna help more. He didn't want to be a groom that just shows up, but he actually hasn't been helping a lot. And he says, like, "Not that I don't care," which is like, "Okay, well, then you don't care." But he says, like, "It's not that I don't care, it's just that I wanna focus on our connection." Okay, but you can focus on your connection, but you can also focus on the wedding. You can do 2 things at once. And I think that's probably what's frustrating for her because she's like, "Okay, but I think I am, but I'm also doing this as well." Like, that's not the process. The process isn't just let's just focus on the connection. The process is, yes, focus on the connection, but there's supposed to be a wedding at the end. It's not if it's not either or. So, he has apologized to her, um, and, the whole thing is, "I hear you. As long as you hear me, it's great." But anyway. So, Ashley and, Tyler are going skydiving, and I wrote, "Black people don't do this." But I guess some Black people do. Not this Black person, but that's okay. Um, so I think but for anyway, I think he figured that he also doesn't wanna do this, like, I don't it's either him or her. Who didn't wanna do it? I think him? Let's we'll talk through this. So, um, she figures that if they can do this, they can do anything, and I said, "Well, not if you're dead, but okay." But then, we're off, and they're like, "Are you ready?" And I think it was him that said no, but they jump out, and Tyler looks like he should a brick, but it's fine. He manages, and we get to the ground, and I think he's the first one who hits the ground, and he's like, "Thank you, Jesus." Then she comes down, and she says, "How do you feel?" And he's like, "I wanna do it again." Like, he actually says he wants to do it again, and I'm like, "Okay, so it's not too bad then." Um, and then we picnic, and I think someone says I got to go through something. I can't read my handwriting. But anyway, um, he says, "We'll go through the tough times," or something around those lines, and "I will hold your hand, and, we'll get, past everything." And yeah, that's basically it. Then we got Taylor and Garrett. They are with I think we're on a date with them. And some at like an art museum. There's like a lot of different like colors and stuff like that. Like, it's very interesting. So they are going to be separate from each other, not seeing each other for the next couple of days. I feel like this is the first time we hear this, especially after UK, because I think the major question was, do they usually separate like that for 3 days? Like, is that usually what happens? So, and she's like, "Who's gonna tape your mouth shut if I'm not there?" Oh man. Then we talk about yellow mustard and the fact that you don't have to refrigerate yellow mustard because it's really just a little mustard seed and vinegar. But like the brown mustard, you do have to put that in the fridge. And I'm like, what is this conversation? It's funny. Um, so Ramses looks he looks distressed, y'all. And does she. And I wrote, what the fuck is happening? Something happened that is big for him. And he doesn't know kind of where things are going to go. And we're not getting a clear picture. And I feel like we never really do get a clear picture of what happened here. But she says, when you get outside reference or thoughts and feelings about something, it doesn't help things because he can't separate his own thoughts and feelings to something versus what other people are thinking. So he, because of that, gets talked out of certain situations. So I think he was talking to family or friends or something, I don't know, and they kind of talked him to a point where he's questioning whether or not he wants to go through with this because, well, if it didn't work the first time, why would it work now? And she says, we have a good thing, we have a good future here ahead of us, and like, what's going to happen here? Well, we'll find out in the next episode, but that's it for this episode. Now, as I know, we already know what happened. I do too. But I did my predictions at this point of who we have left, um, and what I think is going to happen, and who I think, like, if I think someone isn't, if they do get to the altar, whether or not I would think they would say yes or no, and to kind of do all of that. So let's go through what I thought my predictions were at this point prior to entering into the next episode, which is the final episode prior to the reunion. So, first, Ramses and Marissa. I still say no to it. I haven't changed that from my first prediction. And I think that he is the one that's going to be saying no. So that's what I think. I pretty much predicted this based on what I'm seeing in this conversation with them. I didn't even really think they were going to make it to the altar. So next, Tyler and Ashley. I say yes, but I kind of hope it's a no and that she's the one that says no. But anyways, Taylor and Garrett, 100% yes. There's no other way this is supposed to go. If it doesn't go this way, it's going to suck. And yeah, but that's basically it. That is it for this episode. So the final episode is going to be coming. The next episode is going to be Love is Blind, episode 12. That's the next episode you guys can be expecting, but that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there, and you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.